All right. So first, let me just show you my face. So it's always a pain when all you see is is some graphic and you don't know who's talking to you. So that's me. I'm Kathleen Walker. I am race director of New England Endurance, of Wellfleet Sprint Triathlon. I am owner of New England Endurance Events. We have 6 events on Cape Cod, and the 7th event starts in Maine and goes to New Hampshire. So whichever state you want to choose. We've been doing the Wellfleet Sprint Triathlon. I took it over in 2017. Now we do this with WOMR. This is WOMR's largest fundraiser. But I took over as race director in 2017. So we've been doing this a little while. And it's been very helpful for WOMR as our only community radio station on Cape Cod. So we love WOMR, and I hope you guys do too. I'm going to show you a bunch of different stuff. First thing, raise a hand who's been doing the Wellfleet Sprint Triathlon in the past that now it's just like find out what's going on with COVID stuff. So, okay, so we got a couple of you. Thank you. So I'm going to start off the meeting with first going through, for those that have done the Wellfleet Sprint before, I'm just going to go over what our changes are for this year. So that way, if you want to hightail it out of here, go for it. If you want to stick around, that's no problem. Stick around. And then my next section is going to be those people that are triathletes, or they've been doing triathlon, but they haven't done the Wellfleet Sprint. So what's up with the course and all that kind of stuff. So we'll cover those things. And then if you guys want to leave, you're free to leave, of course. Then the last part will be those people who are new to triathlon, whether it's their very first triathlon or just kind of new to the whole sport. And I'll kind of go over some basics. And then you guys through each of those different sections, you'll have the opportunity to ask questions. I don't have my trusty assistant. My husband isn't here yet. So usually he handles the chat for me and he'll just tell me what's going on. So you're going to have to deal with me looking at it and reading it and telling you guys. So forgive me for that. All right, let's get started. I am going to share my screen and let's go back to that nifty thing. Okay, so I talked about WOMR. This is a race that benefits WOMR in big ways. So thank you so much for participating. A good portion of your race fees goes back to WOMR. So I think that it's really appreciated that you guys are a part of this. All right. So throughout all of this, everything that I'm telling you in one way or another is in the athlete's guide. And the best way to get to that is just to remember our website, wellfleetsprinttriathlon.org. It will, on that very first page in the first section, I've got a line there that says, looking for the athlete's guide, click here, click on that. It's going to bring you into our New England Endurance Events website, but then it's like neeevents.com/this, and that. So don't worry about that. Go to the wellfleetsprinttriathlon.org, and then you can click on the link from there. So that will make things easy. So if you're ever questioning, well, what did she say about that? It's most likely in the athlete's guide. All right. So things that, and if you guys, I don't know if you heard that grumble in the background, I have a very large and old dog that is sitting in the living room. And after a while, when I talk too much, he starts grumbling. So if you hear that, I'm sorry, just ignore him. All right. Things for you to know about this particular Wellfleet compared to other years. So those of you that raised your hand and said, yes, I've been doing Wellfleet, but I just want to know what's going on with COVID. This is your page. All right. Thanks so much for being with us. There'll be no funk bus this year. Everyone should be able to fit in the Wellfleet Elementary School parking lot, between the parking lot, the half circle where the kids get dropped off, the parking spaces in front. I'll show you a picture to make sure that we're all clear. And where the police station, they had kind of created a little parking lot across the street by the field. So we're allowed to use that as well. We have a smaller field this year. And that is for COVID. We didn't feel like we could put as many people in transition and keep everybody safe. So we lowered our athlete field. So that means that we can fit everybody. in the parking lot at the elementary school. And then also volunteers will be allowed to park close to the race venue. So I'll show you that in just a second. But we'll be able to fit everyone there. So we don't need the funk bus. And that means that you don't have to be sitting next to somebody with their own germs and your germs and all that. We will have disposable masks available. Just ask when you come to registration, or when you come to pick up your race information. They'll probably ask you anyway, but if they don't ask them, because we have them. No spectators, please. Another effort in keeping our crowds down is no spectators. And there's no funk bus. So you're coming from the school, you can jump on your bike and you can get over to the race venue in 4 minutes. If you've got a spectator with you, they're going to have to walk, and it's going to take more like 15 minutes. They might not be as happy with that. So that's another good reason. But we are trying to keep crowds down. And for those of you that have done this race before, you know that, I mean, it's like a party on the 4th of July. There are athletes and spectators and volunteers. There's everybody all around, and we're all really close. And half the time we're hugging each other. So we are going to skip as much hugging as we can and as many spectators as we can. We need volunteers though. So that is a good way of getting your cheering squad to be able to be a part of the race. It helps WOMR, it helps us, it helps you, because we have volunteers that are going to keep you guys going in the right direction. So if you have a loved one that you had hoped to bring, and you find out that that's not really going to work, and they would like to volunteer, the best way is to email, and I should have put it on here, but I didn't. So I'm going to tell you, Lori, you want to email Lori, or you can go to our contact form and fill that out, and eventually I'll get it. But it's Lori, LORI, at neeevents.com. It's NEE events.com. Oh, you know what? I think I can annotate. Let me try this. Let's see if I can. I'm on Zoom all the time, but I never use, here we go. I never use these little annotation stuff. So here's Lori's website, or Lori's email. So send Lori a note. Let me see if I can change the color too. There you go. Can you guys all see that? Great. All right. So email Lori and say, I've got a spectator that wants to be a volunteer. And we could really use more volunteers. So that would be great. The race shirt, wait, I'm going to show this. I'm going to go off Zoom share for a second, and let me show you these cool t-shirts. All right. So this is the spectator shirt. So, you know, every year, for those of you that have not done Wellfleet before, we always do tie-dye shirts, because Wellfleet's kind of a cool retro place. So, these are the volunteer shirts. So your loved one could get one of these fancy shirts. And this is the athlete shirt. So if you've been on our Facebook page, you saw this. You saw us posted. So the volunteers get one of those nice shirts. And I'm going to go back to the screen. There we go. They get to see the race. They also, probably the biggest thing is, they and you, if you're with them, get to park in the little parking lot that's over by the pond. So that's much easier for you than having to go to the elementary school. But only volunteers and staff can park in that parking lot, because we just don't have enough room. So that would be a great incentive to go, yeah, we want to park there, don't we? So please email Lori. I appreciate that. All right. Timing will not be chipped timed, but it will be timed. We've been using a system for some of our other races that are small, that it's an iPad and we click it as you come through. That means you don't have to wear a chip around your ankle. So there's a benefit there. But September has been a difficult month for events, because events that, like ours, were in June and are now in September, make it really difficult for timers. They just don't have enough people or equipment to be able to take care of those races that had to switch. They had all of their events already scheduled from before. So we have done this timing system that I'm talking about now. We've done it before for one of our other races. It's worked very well. It means that you won't get your results immediately. It might take just a little bit, but you will get them. So you'll just shout out your number when you go through, as you're going through each transition. you're coming out of the water, you're going to shout your number. When you go out on the bike, you're going to shout your number. So each time, just shout your number. So you'll see it. You'll know what it is. Just keep shouting and we'll all be good. All right. There'll be no yoga on the beach, which is very sad. There'll also be no award ceremony, which is more sad. So for that same crowd reason, usually when we have our award ceremony, everybody is all close, we're shoulder to shoulder, and it's just not in the cards with COVID. So you will get awards. We have our fancy awards, I'll show you in a minute, that we've been doing for a few years, and they're pretty cool. They'll be mailed to you. So after the race. Water stop is at the turnaround only. I'll show you that in a minute. I've got a bunch of slides. So if you want to stay on, then you'll see it firsthand. You'll be like, that's what she's talking about. Prepackaged foods only at race. We will not have things. Usually we have bagels, things that it's more exposed food. We're not doing that. We're only doing packaged food. We'll also do bananas and oranges as they have their own packaging. Packet pickup this year. We'll have Friday packet pickup 4 to 6. That will be right at the pond. And then Saturday morning is 6 to 7:30. So that Friday is new for us for Wellfleet. And I think that'll be great. We're going to be putting transition together, but you want to come by, we'll have a table. We'll be able to give you your race numbers and your swag and your t-shirt. All right. So I was telling you about parking. So this is Lawrence School. If you're not familiar, first you'll be coming down Route 6. And so you turn at the light, make a right. And then Lawrence Road, if you stay over to the right, Lawrence Road is going to bring you over here to the elementary school. So you can park in this half circle. We should be able to fit 20 cars in there. So that's really parallel parking. Just pull in and just leave yourself just enough room that you can get out. That would be appreciated. There's also 20 spaces right here along the field. We can park there. You can park at the school, and you can park across the street here in the old police lot. We should be able to all fit in there, particularly if some of you have volunteers that you're willing to donate to us. We appreciate that. All right. So there we go. So some people are like, oh, that's such a long way, but it's really not. It's a 4-minute ride by your bike. And so you want to consider what transition stuff you're bringing and how you're bringing that so you can bring it on the bike. But it's 4 minutes if you're going slow. I mean, really, it's not very fast. It just takes me a couple minutes to get there on my bike. So you'll be able to go from the elementary school. You just get right on Long Pond Road, make a left, and the pond's right there. So it's not very far at all. If you get there late and you find that people weren't parking as well as we would like, and there's not as many spaces, then you can park in town. Long Pond Road goes over the highway. So you want to stay on Long Pond Road. And if you see here on the bottom left of my screen, I've got town here. So there's a couple of churches. There's the farmer's market. There's some parking over that way. You can park anywhere that doesn't say no parking. So that's no problem. And then it's 6 minutes to get on your bike to the pond. So it's not that far. It looks kind of far here, but it really isn't. All right. So before we get into how, if anyone who hasn't raced Wellfleet, that is going to have a bunch of Wellfleet questions. Does anybody, I mean, I don't mind, there's not a big group here. So if anyone wants to take themselves off mute, if you can, tell me if you can't, and I'll make sure you can. If anyone has a question to ask, by all means. Oh, here.
I have a quick question here on Spectators. I know, or I should say Sherpas, because I know Spectators are not allowed. But it was mentioned in the email that there were a few spots, or maybe in the athlete guide, that there are a few spots where Spectators could potentially park themselves and cheer. Are those spots accurate and okay to sit in?
Where was the map that showed where people could stand?
It wasn't a map. It was hang on, let me pull up this It says you could cheer on from the side of the road, the elementary school, or near the beachcomber, as long as we're actually off the road. It was in the race details.
Okay.
Thing.
Here, let me, I'm going to go back to that share because that will be a good place to be able to show you where you are. Okay. So if you have people that want to cheer you on, We can't have them in the race area here, but you can be, here's the school.
Yeah.
So you all are you're coming from transition, and you're going to go down Long Pond. You're going to make a right onto Lawrence. So you're going to go right past the school where you had parked. So they can hang out anywhere over there, as long as they're obviously not on the road, because bikes will be whizzing by them. So that's a good spot. The Beachcomber is up where you're doing the bike turnaround. No, excuse me. We're doing the run turnaround. So this blue line is the run. So you're going to run uphill, and you're going to run over here. The Beachcomber's right there. So they could kind of hang out over here and see you like at the turnaround and back. So that's another option. You can also be now on the other side of this pond. There is a, first, this is not actually a road. Don't try driving down. I mean, it's a Jeep trail. So don't follow Google here at all. But there's a parking lot right here where volunteers will get to park. Some spectators, they'll have to walk from the elementary school, because you can't park in there unless you're a volunteer or staff, but they can walk from where you parked your car at the elementary school and go up there. There's some space on the side of the road there, but we can't have anyone in front of transition. During a normal year, we can't either, because it's just too crowded. And I'll show you some pictures of that. You'll understand why. But so they could be, there's limited space right here on the side of the road. They just can't come down to transition, or they can watch you actually from the road. You can see the pond, so they can watch your swim that way. They can watch you as you loop around on the bike a couple of times. And then when you go out on the run, if they're standing here on the side of the road near the parking lot.
Okay, great. I'm encouraging him to volunteer, but on the chance that he is not willing, I just wanted to make sure that he had some spot to stand.
Okay, no problem. Tell me you can get easy parking. You won't have to take that hike to the race, you know?
It's a big draw. We'll have to see.
Okay, good.
Thank
no
you.
problem. All right. Anybody else have any questions? Feel free to unmic yourself and ask. Okay. All right, no problem. You guys can always throw stuff in chat if I'm talking and it brings up something or another. Throw it in chat, and that's for me. It's the top of my screen. It might be at the bottom of your screen, the little row of things that you can do. So you can click that and put it in chat. All right. So the map. You guys have seen this on the website, hopefully. Long Pond Road, you see, goes right through here. We were just talking about that with the with parking, right? If you keep going down Long Pond Road, not that far, there's the town beach at Long Pond. It's a little park and then a very small beach. So we take over the park and we end up taking over the beach. You will swim in the pond, and I'll show you pictures of that in just a minute, of like where you're going and where to keep the buoy and that sort of thing. You're going to go left on the bike. So you're going to make a left here, and you're going to follow Long Pond down Lawrence, up Grosse Hill, and then that ends up on Ocean View Drive, and then it brings down Long Pond Drive again. You do that twice. The first time's not so bad. The second time's not as great, but it is what it is. It's a beautiful course. And if you've done your training, you won't have any problems. So once you make that second loop, you're going to come back into transition. Then you're going to put your stuff away, get your shoes on, and you're going to run all this blue line here. You're just running up Long Pond Road. You're going to keep running up Long Pond Road until you make a right onto Ocean View. So the bikes are coming down here. They're making a right here, and you're in the other lane, and you're making a right going the other way. You'll get to my little blue dot here. That's where the water station is. And you have a view of the ocean. So that's good. Enjoy the view for a quick second, grab some water, and then go back down the hill until you get to the finish line. So I'll show you that in just a sec. Anyone have any questions on what that course looks like? All right, moving right along. All right, volunteers. So make sure to get that in again. We need volunteers. We have staff and we have WOMR brings volunteers as well, but we can always use great volunteers, happy volunteers at that. So if you'd like to, by all means, I think I've beat that dead horse a bit. So you know that that we could use you. All right. Packet pickup is Friday from 4 to 6. Race morning, 6 to 7:30. That 7:30 is a hard 7:30. You need to be in transition shortly after that. And that's not giving you a whole lot of time. Race starts at 8. So you're going to be getting out of transition at 7:45. We do a number of races. We just had a race last weekend with 750 people. What I find with that many people getting into transition and then getting over to the swim start is that people don't always plan their time very well. And they think, oh, it won't take me any time at all to get my stuff together and then get over to the swim start. It just takes a long time. So if you can allow an hour, keep in mind, it's going to take you a little bit of time to get from the parking to the venue. Then it's open rack, meaning that you can rack your bike anywhere you want in transition. So that's going to take a little bit more time rather than just looking for your number. You might want to try your bike out, make sure it's working fine. We do have bike support there if you have any issues. But those are things that you normally check your bike beforehand, but you might have a flat or something like that. And we're happy to fix that. So please plan your time out. All right. So when you're picking up your race materials, you'll have a swim cap color that is based on the wave that you're going in. So we have 3 age group waves. So there's 2 male waves, 44 and under, then 45 and over male, then all of our women, and then a small group of relay teams. So ladies, sorry, I put you behind the men because it's a small pond and some of those guys are kind of mean. They're rough. They're in the water, they're swimming, they're not thinking about anybody else. And I get enough complaints from, mostly from women saying, those guys, like, they just run us over. So I'll put you in the back and that way you can just pass them all as you go through. But what I wanted to bring up was the red swim caps. So you've got wave colors for everybody else. There's these red swim caps. If you are anxious in the water and you say, I'd really like those lifeguards to have a few extra eyes on me, then ask for a red cap when you get to packet pickup, when you pick up your packet. So that red cap signals to our lifeguards that they need to give you a little extra attention, and that will just help you in your swims. It usually just makes you feel a little bit more comfortable, and it helps our lifeguards to be able to identify those people that maybe could use a little bit of extra help. All right. I'm going to answer these 2 questions and then I'm going to save the rest until a little bit later. Road closure. The roads are closed to vehicles. That being said, if somebody lives somewhere on the course, they're going to be able to get to their house. So although it's closed, there always ends up being a car or so that ends up on the course at some point. The police are there. They're at every major intersection. And so they'll warn them and say, okay, you got to go to your house, but, keep in mind there's people on the road. So technically it is closed. Current temperature of Long Pond. I was at the pond last week and it was, I think I put it on the website. You have to check there to be sure. It was above 70. I want to say it was 75 or 74. It was much warmer than I expected. I will check the water temperature again when I go Friday. We'll post that to Facebook. All right. I mentioned bike support. We do have bike support thanks to Wheelhouse Bike Company, and they're in Chatham. This gentleman has been doing our bike support for some time, and he's from Wheelhouse. Bike plugs on your handlebars, those are necessary. If for some reason yours have fallen off, he will replace them. You should check them before you come, please. Sometimes people need air in their tires or something like that, and he can certainly take care of that for you. All right, bike racks. Normally we stuff as many bikes as we can on the bike racks. It's usually 8 bikes per rack because it's such a small area. We just have to get everybody in. With COVID, that was part of the idea of having less athletes this time. So we can actually fit 6 bikes per rack. So that's going to give you guys a little bit more room. But when you get into transition, if you can keep that in mind, 6 bikes per rack. So some people come in and they're like, oh, 3 bikes per rack. I'm going to spread myself out. Please don't. 6 bikes per rack. You'll also notice that these bikes are set up as every other, like each different direction. So we've got one coming from the left, one coming from the right, and then it keeps going. That way we can fit more bikes in, and there's less of a chance of your bike coming off the rack because somebody bumped into your handlebars when they got to their bike before you did. So please do every other. That would be very helpful. And it's 6 bikes per rack. All right. So the good aerial of of transition. I was noticing this person right here was looking up at the drone. This is actually, this was not right before race start. It looks like there was still more people to come in. It should be about this crowded for you all. About 6 bikes per rack looks like this. Normally it's even more crowded. But what I wanted to show you was first how this is set up. So you see that, yeah, everybody is pretty close together. And we have, this is bike out over here. There's a little flag you can kind of see. I'll show you flags in a second. There won't be an actual mat there. There'll be a person there instead. You're going to bike out that way. And when you come back in, you're going to bike in this way. And you're going to run out along the side. I'll show you a better picture in a second. But you're going to run out over in this direction. So swim start. This is the flags I was just telling you about. So all of the out flags are green because you're going out, go, right? The in flags are red. So if it's bike in, it's going to be a red flag. So you say, oh, red flag. I know I got to go in somewhere there. And then the swim start is yellow. So looking at the pond, you can see these are what our buoys look like. I'll show you. I'll get a better picture in just a second. You're going to start on this beach and you're going to go right. So if you go farther right, there's another buoy out that way. And then you're going to come around. You're going to keep the buoys on your left. And you're going to come around this buoy and you're going to finish right here. So when you finish, this is it's a little boardwalk. So you're going to run up the boardwalk. There'll be space for you to do so. One thing, there won't be all these spectators. And they move out of and anyone who is there will move out of your way. And you see where the chute is, there's a run in. So the run in and the run out ends up being the same because you all will be out of the water and starting before anyone ever runs out. So it ends up being run in, run out. You'll come in here. This is a chute for USAT. We've got to keep USAT regulations makes it fair in transition. So you want to make sure that that your ins and outs are separated a bit. So that way, it might be there's an in out over here, but then there's going to be an in out over on this side too. So if you're in transition, you could be anywhere in transition and it's just as fair as somebody else's spot. All right, so this hopefully is a better picture for you of the aerial of the swim. So you see, you'll swim, you'll start the swim here. You'll go in, you'll go to the left part of the screen. You'll go around that buoy I showed you a minute ago is over way at the bottom near the right. And then you'll go through here. See the flag right there? And you'll go through and you'll run up and there's the chute for the swim in. So you'll follow this all the way along. It's like a quarter with fencing and you'll come into transition here. That bike in and out are on the other side of this tree here. And then your run out is going to be in the same area. And you're going to go up here, up the road. There's a little path behind the trees here. So you'll follow that. All right, so buoys to the left. So hopefully this is a good reminder to you. This is what our buoys look like from this vantage point. And you'll keep the buoy to your left. If you need, I was talking about red caps before. Sometimes someone needs, like you start swimming and for whatever reason, even seasoned athletes, and you just have this panic and you need to hang on to something. You are more than welcome to hang on to one of our lifeguards boards. You can sit on that board or hang on to the board for a few minutes, a few seconds, whatever it takes, and then you can swim on. So if you're ever having a panic attack, don't feel like you have to, just suck that up. Go ahead and hang on to someone's board. They'll keep you there for a minute. They'll talk to you for a second, and then off you go. If you need to come in, if you say, you know what, today is not my day, then you can let them know and you can swim in and then tell our timer that you're done. Or they can take you in if need be. So we want to make sure that you're safe in the water. Your safety is our number one priority, particularly in the waters. All right. So on the bike course, as I showed you on the map, the transition is over here on our right. And it starts a little bit before this picture is. So you'll end up making a left and you'll go off the road or onto the road. You'll go around that loop I was showing you before, and you're going to come down this hill. This is slow zone because you're going to have other people that are coming onto the course when you're going to make your second loop. So you need to slow down because you guys are going to merge. So slow down here. I say that with a little laugh because I don't think these three guys had done it. I just knowing athletes, sometimes the athletes that are really serious about the race, which is great. They don't want to slow down there, of course, because they're making good time. But if you slow down, you might avoid an accident, because if you're on the ground, it's not going to help your time. So please slow down during this one section. Just as we merge here, you're also later in the race, the runners are going to be running up the side and then down the side of this lane that I have here. That's what this big finish line is. And so you have bikes and then you have runners, and it's just better to stay a little slower in this area because that's where all that movement happens. So that would be appreciated, and it'll be a better race for you. So when I was saying that you do two loops, right? So you've got, let's say this person is going on her second loop. So she keeps going, but this person here, he had already swam and he's finished his loops on the bike. And so he's going to start coming in. He's going to dismount. There's a yellow sign right here. See how this guy's dismounting? So there's a yellow sign. Someone's going to be shouting at you, dismount. So you're going to come in, you're going to get off your bike, and then you're going to go into transition, which is kind of behind these people right here. So you can see how there's a lot of things going on in this one area. And so if you can go slow when you're doing that loop, it's going to help you and everybody around you. All right. And dismount. Just want to make sure you guys saw the dismount signs are right here. That's yellow. All right. And then the run. So I showed you where you were in transition, and that you're going to take that little, hallway through the fencing, sorry. And then this is where you guys swam out. You swam out right over here, and you went that way towards the transition that you can't see. So then you're going to run up this little hill. So you're going to run through here. There's a little path that you take, and you're going to come out on the road right over here. So you can see that there are green cones. So you want to stay to the right of the green cones when you're running, either way. So you're running out, green cones are right here on your left. You're going out this way with all these others. And then everyone's going to come back down the hill, and you're going to stay you're still going to stay on the right of the green cones. There we go. Just double checking. So you'll come back down this way. Don't cross don't cross the yellow line, because there might be a bike coming behind you, and we certainly don't want you to be hit. No one has been hit by a bike so far. So I feel like you guys are safe, but I always have to mention it. Oops. Water bottles. We will give you water bottles when you finish the race. And at the top of the hill, I was mentioning that there is a water stop there. And then these are the cool finisher medals. This year we'll say 2021. These will be mailed to any first, second, or third place age group winners and overall winners. All right. So before we go that far, before we go to that new to triathlon, let's see. Does anyone have any questions? I don't see anything in chat. So does that mean that you guys are all good and you get all of that, or are there questions that you're afraid to ask? Any questions at all?
Kathleen, maybe a quick question.
Go ahead, Kevin.
I understand you might be able to buy that insurance packet the morning of the race, like for $15 for the
USAT,
whatever the acronym is.
Sure. Yes, you can. There will be a line though, Kevin. So think about that. Now that we have the Friday packet pickup 4 to 6, that might help the line. But usually there's, we're trying to get everybody through in a short amount of time. So if you can do it online, an email will go out tomorrow. Well, first, the email that I sent you guys about tonight's meeting, at the bottom of that email is a green button. Click on that. You can do it that way. Or tomorrow, I think our registration system is going to send another email that says, for anybody who doesn't have their USAT in the system yet, and it will say, here, click here and get this taken care of. That's going to be much faster for you. Now, having said that, USAT, USA Triathlon, changed over their membership system right before the season started. And like with any new big system, they've had all sorts of issues. So they're working out their kinks, but for some people it works great. For some people it doesn't work as well. So if you try, I would say try one time, press the button, try to add a USAT one day, which is that license. And if you have trouble, then don't spend any more time with it. Then just come with your $15 in cash, because that would really help us. If you have an annual membership and you're able to add it to your account, to your reg account, that would be faster for you. Renewing that way, using the button, you can renew. That would be faster. If you are an annual member, bring your card with you just to make sure that, because it's with our system and the USAT system has not always been talking, and sometimes it won't validate. So if you bring your card, which you're supposed to do anyway, then we'll be able to look at it and go, oh yeah, that's fine, you match. No problem, you're good. Anybody else have any other questions? Okay. Let me look at my notes really quick. And then I'm going to go on to anyone who might be new with triathlon. All right. We talked about the no funk bus. Everyone's going to park at the school and ride their bike up. And so keep in mind what you're bringing to transition and how you're doing that. So that way you don't lose everything across the road. 6 bikes per rack. And we looked at how those were like every other on the rack. The red caps. So if you need a little extra eyes, no problem asking for a red cap. Run route, we talked about. Timing, we talked about. That's it. So that's all of my notes for all of anyone who's done triathlon but hasn't done Wellfleet before. I think that kind of covers it all. The athlete's guide, remember, you can get to that by wellfleetsprinttriathlon.org. You'll see there's a link there on that very first part of the website. That has lots of notes. We will be body marking. So your bib number goes on your arms, your age goes on your right calf. We have people that will do that for you. We'll also have some markers out. So if you don't want someone else touching your skin, I totally get that. You'll be able to mark yourself, or maybe a friend can mark you. That would be easier. Bibs, we've got our fancy timing machine that is not chipped. So that will be something a little bit different. Yeah, I think that that covers an awful lot. All right. Did anyone come up with any questions while I was going through all that stuff?
I have one more question on the USAT card. If we can't find our card, can we bring like a screenshot of our account?
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, that works. USAT also has an app.
Oh.
So yeah, the only thing that I found is that before I get to packet pickup, I go ahead and make sure that I'm logged into it, because otherwise I get right there and I'm like, oh, it's right. Oh, wait, I have to log in. So just make sure to log into the app. But if you just want to take a picture of it, that's fine too, and just show us.
Amazing. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. All right. Anyone have anything else? All right. So I'm going to go talk about who here is new to triathlon. Yay. Nice, Susan, Sherry, Leslie. Good. Oh, excellent. Wonderful. Thank you for choosing Wellfleet as your first race. There's lots of great things about triathlon. Triathlon and we just had a race last weekend. And so you will see me like for the next few days, right? One thing is at the swim start. I do the swim start mostly because I just like talking to you guys. And so actually we don't have any newbie waves, so you won't get to hear the whole newbie thing there. So I'm going to give it to you guys now. But one of the things that I say, a couple of things I say is, one thing is triathlon can change your life. It's changed my life. I've been a triathlete now since, I guess, 2004, something like that, or early 2000s. And I've been a spectator for a while. I've been a volunteer for a while, and but just making that transition into being a triathlete. It's a wonderful group of people. If any of you guys live on Cape, we have Cape Cod Triathlon team. If you're over in the Falmouth area, there's the Cape Cod Cycling, which actually has a part of, they've got a tri team kind of involved in there. It's a wonderful group of people. So it can change your life. Also, it's like, you just feel good about yourself. And races are so fun. So, and I'll talk to you a little bit about like, how do you manage that? Because the anxiety usually is like way up here. And so you want to have fun, but yet the anxiety is there as well. So, so I can certainly touch on that later. But your first triathlon should just be fun. Get the lay of the land, figure out what you're doing. Don't worry about how fast you go. If you happen to go fast, that's fantastic. But this first triathlon is, it may be a better way to explain it. So some people, particularly friends that you have that are triathletes, and they're like, oh, you need to do this. You need to be really fast. And you need to, like all these things you have to do. And it just builds the anxiety. When we do triathlon, and I think why so many people have been in it for so long, is that there's always that push to do your personal best. So, whatever that time is, so you're kind of, you're judging your time compared to other races that you've done, or maybe the same race. You do it year after year and you're like, oh, I got faster, or, oh, I didn't, what happened? So you're always kind of comparing yourself to your own times and other people's times. And it's your personal best. That's what we're looking for. Always a PR. For you being the first triathlon that you're doing, it is your personal best. Just showing up is your personal best. Finishing the race is another personal best. So why worry about the time? Just get used to it, have fun, get the idea of how it all works together. And then the next race, you've got that down and you feel comfortable. So that would be my 2 cents. That's it. All right. I'm going to go back to my sharing my screen, and then you guys feel free to throw. I've got my chat up, so feel free to throw any questions in there, or as we go through, if you got a question, just kind of let me know. All right. So new to triathlon. So first thing I mentioned, body marking. This is body marking. We take a permanent marker and we put it on your skin. So we want to know what your number is, and for this year, that's really important because the way that we're doing our timing. You don't have a chip that's going to read it as you go across their mats. We have to look at your number. So it's going to be really important that you have those numbers, the bib numbers on you, and you won't know what your bib number is until you get to the race. And then you'll be able to mark yourself, or we'll mark you. So that's the first part, is marking your arms. And then we mark your calf. Normally we put your age on the calf, and this is a USA Triathlon thing. We put the age on the calf, and really it's that way anyone behind you, or if you're behind somebody else, if you need to be like speeding up, or if maybe you don't need to worry about them. So if you've got someone in your age group, you want to know like, oh shoot, they're in my age group. I better get going. I want to get ahead of them. Right. So I always lie when it comes to that. So that's just our secret. I never tell my age. I always put a different age, because why not, right? I don't want somebody in the 50s to be like, oh, good, I'm going to use her as my carrot. And then in the end, I'm going to beat her, so instead I give somebody else's age. So that's my own little thing, but don't tell anybody. So what we'll probably do for Wellfleet, and I'll think it through a little bit before Saturday, is also put your bib number. Like one leg will have your age, one leg will have your bib number. So if you get past the timing zone and our staff and volunteers didn't get your number, they didn't hear what you said, they can turn around and look, and they can see it on your calf. So we'll probably end up doing both. So that's that body marking. Normally it's bib numbers on your arm, sometimes on your hand as well. And then on your calf. All right. So this is one of our other races, and it looks like this is Hyannis. So this is a race we did last weekend. The pictures from a couple of years ago, but it's we had about 750 people, so much bigger than what you're going to be experiencing on Saturday. But you see in transition how everyone is all around. All of your stuff goes right next to your bike. So everything should go to the right of your bike. And I think I've got a better picture of that. So you hang your bike by the seat, not by the handlebars. That's a good way of breaking your brakes. And then you don't realize that until you're going downhill. So you don't want that. So you always rack by the seat, and you always want it facing you. It's counterintuitive because it seems like you'll have more room if you put it the other way around, but that's not the way it goes. It goes towards you. So you take your seat and you put it over the bar from the back, and then you put all of your stuff in a nice, neat little area to the side. Now we're going to give you transition mats. So that's one of the things that we're doing this year for New England endurance events for our races. It's like a neoprene mat that's just big enough. It should be like a good size for you to be able to put all of your, anything that you need in transition right on the mat. And the idea is all your stuff stays on the mat. So here we go. So here's an example. Let me move this over a little bit. Oh, that's actually not a great example of where his stuff goes, but I'm gonna show you right here with the seat. See how it sits right up here? So you just flip it over and put it there. I wouldn't do the shoe thing with your shoes being on there and then you run and you jump into them unless it's something you've been practicing. But helmet, I also would not leave my helmet hanging like that. It's easy to get knocked over, particularly in a small transition area. Someone's going by and everyone's in their own kind of race head and they don't realize they've just knocked your helmet off. And then you have to go find the helmet, which is then rolled away. So you want to be careful about that. There we go. This is a better picture of transition. So she's got all of her stuff. Oh, excuse me. He has all his stuff right within that area. That's his wetsuit that he's then taken off. He's got a helmet in there. He actually kind of has a mess. It'd be nicer for it to be neat, but everything sits right there. So if you have, you get a bib number, right, that you wear for the run. You don't have to wear it on the bike. And if you're wearing it in the swim, only if you have a wetsuit on, otherwise will come off in the water. We'll give you pins. So you can pin that, or if you have a race belt, some of you are runners and then you're going into triathlon, you probably already have a race belt. So in that case, bring your race belt and put your bib on it. That's my favorite. I got tired of having little holes in my tri kits. But you can get that at Marathon Sports here on the Cape, or just pin it this first time. It's the first time you're doing anything. Some people have tri kits. We call this a tri kit. This is a one piece. I don't like the one piece. It's really hard to get out of when, before the race, you got to go to the bathroom. You got to take everything off. I don't like doing that at all. Some people love it. I don't like it. So whatever works for you. Anything that's close. So you probably have some kind of bike short that you're wearing. There are triathlon bike shorts. They're tri shorts that have a small padding in them, but it's not so much that it's going to be like really awkward if you swim like in regular bike shorts and you have the big padding. You go swim in those and then you're wearing a diaper. So the tri ones are a little smaller. You might be fine. You might have been practicing with like a swimsuit and then you get on the bike with a pair of shorts. If you're comfortable with that, that's fine. You want a shirt, whether it's a swimsuit or some kind of shirt that is tight fitting for the swim, because you don't want anything loose. If you're wearing like a race shirt, it's cotton. It's going to weigh you down when you're in the water. So you don't want that. Make sure for the run, particularly on this run, as you get towards the turnaround, you're going to want you're going to make sure you want a hat and sunglasses. So those would all be in your transition area. You line everything up. So that way it's easy. Like, okay, here's all my bike stuff. Here's all my running stuff. Here's where I'm putting my swimming stuff once I take everything off. So all of that should fit together in this one little area. This is a better example. So he's got his bike shoes, his helmet, and then a little box where he's got his goggles and his swim cap so they don't get lost. So that's actually pretty neat. You can bring a little towel to wipe your feet off. So this person has 2 water bottles. So that's really smart. You've got one water bottle for the bike, which you can put on the bike. And then another one, because when you come out of the swim, you might be thirsty. And if you haven't got your bike yet, you want to take a swig, you're good. And when you get off the bike, some people forget to drink while they're on the bike and then they're getting ready for the run. If you've got a water bottle, you can take a drink. There will not be a water station in transition going out on the run. So if you need water going out on the run, you want to make sure you get it. There'll be water at the 1.5 mile, but there will not be water in transition for you. So have that. I also carry an extra water bottle that I squirt on my feet to get the sand off before I turn around and put my shoes, put my feet in my shoes. I don't like having sand in my bike shoes or my running shoes. So that's something that I do. If it works for you, that's great. I do just like a regular bike bottle because I can just squirt it and I dry my feet off. So hopefully that will work for you. But you see how here's the tire and all their things are right here on the right. So that's where it should be set up. In any transition area, it's always walk in, walk out. Well, it can be run in, run out. That's fine, but not ride in or ride out. You never ride your bike inside of transition. You think about how unsafe that might be. So always run or walk your bike out. And then there'll be a sign that would be very similar to this for us that will say mount. And you'll have someone telling you mount your bike. That's what that means. So you get on your bike. Now in Wellfleet, you're merging on with other people. So you're going to get on your bike and you're going to kind of stay to the left a little bit because remember, there's no traffic there. So you don't have to worry about, oh no, there might be a car coming in that lane. There's not going to be a car there. So you can take a minute, get on your bike, get your bearings. And then once you look behind you to make sure there's nobody that's coming through on their second loop, that's when you can go ahead and merge with them once you've gotten up to speed just a little bit. So don't try to move all the way over to the right when you're not going very fast because somebody behind you is going to have to either slam on their brakes or they might run into you. So you'll want to kind of merge with them, get your speed up, and then get in there. All right. So that dismount line, that's right here. So she's, there's somebody that's going to be there telling you get off your bike. She got off her bike and then she's going to go right into transition. So you see how everyone just runs in. And that was the that bike in sign I was telling you about. That might be all I had to show you. All right. So now I'll take any questions that you might have. It looks like we don't have any questions. Does anybody have anything else? What are the questions that you think about? What questions you don't know to ask? Because sometimes that happens too. Leslie, what's your question?
Can you talk a little bit more about the swim start? So where it's not a chip time, does everybody just run in and start?
Sorry about that.
Time? That's okay.
To the dog.
You're on mute. You're on mute. I can't hear you.
Forgot about that. I muted so you didn't have to hear him, and then
because of the dog.
You're at a wave start. So everybody that's going in at that time will say, for ladies, it will be probably more like 7:09 or 8:09 or 8:10. So the timing will start for you at that time. So it'll be important that you're there and ready to go. So then when you come out, then you'll shout whatever your number is, as you come through. So you'll see them there. If I have enough red flags in my warehouse, I'll pull them out and just tell them they have to stand by the red flag. So you'll know, but I'll put that in social media or something if that's what we end up doing. Either way, it will be more obvious that, where you are, and what you need to do. All right. Anyone have any other questions? Go ahead, Susan. Sorry. Susan, you got to unmute yourself.
How many people are running the race? You said it was a reduced field.
Yeah. So we're sorry. So we sold out using it with a reduced field. So we have 125 athletes. Normally we have 200. But in that small space, I don't know. Are you familiar with Wellfleet? Okay.
No, I haven't done the race before. No.
Okay. Some people are like, they come to Wellfleet and, so it's just a little park. So with 200 people in that park, I mean, like when I said, like, it's like a party on the 4th of July, that's it. I mean, it's jam packed. So we've not allowed as many athletes to register, just so that way you're not like forced into this little tiny space. And speaking of that, we do have disposable, I think I mentioned before, we have disposable masks because you'll want something disposable going into the swim, right? Because you'll have to take it off. If you have something that you want to wear during the race, like a buff or something that you can pull up or down, then just put that on after the swim. So
you can race with a mask on
if you want to. That's your choice.
Oh, you don't have to. Okay.
No, you don't have to. That is completely up to you. We ask if you're not vaccinated that, please cover up. All right. Anyone have any other questions? Go ahead.
Kathleen, what about we're doing it as a team?
So for the relay teams, I'm glad you asked. And I used to have slides for that, and I'm sorry that I didn't. So for the relay team, you have an extra, we just saved you an extra step with not having to do the timing chip. So when you all will rack your bike we should have some racks that will say relay team. And so you'll rack your bikes with other relay teams. Whoever's going to swim first, when you come back from the swim, you have to go all the way back to that rack where the relay team member that is going to bike is at the rack. They can't take the bike off until you get there. So let's assuming that you're the swimmer, right? So if you're the swimmer, you get to the bike rack, and that's when they can take the bike off the rack. First, they have to put their helmet on. So that's another USAT rule. And all these rules, they're for a good reason. So when you, before you get your bike, this is for everybody. Before you get your bike off of the rack, you've got to take your helmet, put it on, and buckle it. Before you pull your bike off. Now there's a couple reasons. One, once you get your bike off, it's like all bets are off. Like your mind is just like, I gotta go. And then you forget your helmet. So that's one. The other one is once you get your bike off, now you're trying to lean the bike against yourself and trying to get the helmet on. It just doesn't work. So you want to get your helmet on, put on your glasses, and then get your bike off the rack last. So for the relay team, that bike, it doesn't come off the rack until you get to transition. Then your biker puts on the helmet, pulls the rack off, and then off they go. Now they might have the helmet on, anticipating you're coming. Oh, here she comes. They'll put the helmet on. That's fine. But the bike can't come off the rack until the swimmer actually gets to transition. And so then it works the same way going the other way around. So once the biker comes in, the bike's got to be on the rack before the runner can start. Okay. And that way, normally you'd have a chip on your ankle. And so it's that transition of the chip. But in this case, we can do the same thing without it. Just think of the bike. The bike can't come off the rack until the swimmer gets there, and the bike can't go back on or the runner can't go until the bike goes back on the rack.
Okay, great.
All right. Any other
A
questions?
stupid question. This counts, I think, as a stupid question. So if you have a long sleeve wetsuit, what happens? Where do you mark? Where does the number get marked, or how?
We'll still mark you on your arm because we'll need that for the bike and the run. That's where in some races they'll mark your hand. So if you're wearing a long sleeve wetsuit, when you come to the body marker, you can say, hey, will you mark my hand too? And that way, you can show the hand, but just remember what your number, and you might have to look at it to remember what your number is, but that's okay. Okay, so we have that. So if you're wearing long sleeve wetsuit, no problem. Have you been practicing with it, Leslie? Okay, good. So that's a word of advice for anybody, as Leslie's doing. Don't wear a wetsuit for the first time at a race. You always want to practice with it first. Couple of reasons. One, it's really hard to get out of, so you've got to practice that. But also, you're going to be anxious starting this race. And it's not just because it's your first race. I mean, everybody's a little anxious, even if they don't tell you. So your anxiety goes up, and then you go to start to swim, and the wetsuit's like it's pressing against your chest. So unless you're used to how that feels, that is a reason for a panic attack. So you want to practice with that. And often what I do when I start any swim, I think even like when I'm like in training, and I swim a few times a week, if I'm wearing a wetsuit, before I actually get started, I just open the collar a little bit, let a little water in, and that water flows throughout the wetsuit. It doesn't have to be a lot of water, but it's enough that the wetsuit's no longer clinging to your body. And then that gives you a little more space, and it makes you a little more comfortable. Make sure when you zip it up, some people will like leave it more open in the back because they don't like how it feels here, but careful, because sometimes like if water's going down the back, you're slowing yourself down. And so, that makes it harder to swim. So bring it up as much as you can, so that way you don't feel that water like really trickling down your back. And that'll make it a little easier. I have a sleeveless suit. Well, I have a sleeveless and a sleeve suit, and I never wear my sleeve suit. I always wear the sleeveless because it's just easier to get out of. So I'm one of those that can't get the suit off. And so, you might be really good at that. So I hope so. All right. What other questions? What other things? Go ahead, Sherry.
I just have one. So I'm part of a relay team. And would there be room for my bike? I'm not doing the biking portion, but would I be able to bike from the parking lot to the transition area?
Yes. So if you want to bring your bike into transition, but then park it like against the fence or something like that, so it's out of the way,
Okay.
then that works. Yeah, because that's much easier if you can all three bike in and then just take your bike and put it in transition. So it's safe, but not on a rack. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Only the bike that's in the race goes on the rack.
Okay, great.
That sounds
Thank you.
no problem. Let's see. Anyone have anything? I'm trying to think of anything else that might be helpful for you all.
Okay, I have another question.
Good.
Questions. If you're getting dropped off, if your method of getting there is not that you're parking, can you get dropped off closer to the transition area, or?
Normally we say no, not at all.
Okay.
There will probably be some that will do that. The
Okay.
problem is as we get closer to the race, they're going to close that road.
Okay,
And there's not a good place to turn around. Like, so your loved one would have to drop you off, and then most likely the parking lot, that little parking lot that's there, is going to be pretty full. They're going to have to go all the way up Long Pond, back down and around to
yeah,
get back to
okay.
where they need to be. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. All right. Any other questions? Triathlon in general. I mean, it could be this race, but all right. Does anyone have any other races that they're planning on doing this year? No, not yet. Maybe. Okay.
Yeah, not triathlons. Yeah.
All right. Well, hopefully you guys will love this so much. So Wellfleet is one of the neat things about Wellfleet is just the atmosphere. There's just something really welcoming about this race. And you know, you've got these people that are like super athletes, and then you have people that they're brand new. And everyone just kind of melds together. And a lot of the attitude, for the most part, a lot of the attitude from some of those elite athletes kind of goes away at Wellfleet. Like, this is not what we do. So that's really nice, like to start your race off that way, your race career off with a fun race. But there are hills. So as you guys, if you've done the course at all, you know that Wellfleet's nothing but a hill. You're going up or downhill at any point. But it's a super fun race, and there will be people that will have big bikes, you know, like not like these super triathlete bikes, but they're going to have like a big steel bike. And, you know, God love you, because going up the hill with one of those, you know, 30-pound bikes is not easy, but you'll have people that will do that. And some people will be walking, and it's just a very relaxed atmosphere. So I think you'll like that. Susan, you have your mic off. So would you have a question?
No, I'm
Oh, okay. No problem.
just in case. It was
Okay. Just in case. That's good.
I'm just worried about the swim because I'm not a swimmer.
Okay. That, you know what, that's the biggest hurdle for most people going into triathlon. It's the swim. Have you been practicing throughout the summer? Okay, good. So remember that when you first start. All right. So here's my big advice. I got lots of big advice. So sorry. For the swim start, most people will, and including any triathlon friends you might have, they'll say, oh, the swim, you know, you want to get right out in front and you want to go as fast as you can to get past, you know, to get ahead of people. Well, some of us aren't going to get ahead of people, even if we're going as fast as we can, right? And then all of a sudden you've got everybody around you, and you used all this energy, and your anxiety level went up to here because your blood pressure just went up, and it's not, and then you don't have a fun race, right? So instead, go towards the back of the wave. My favorite spot in any wave, and I've been doing this for quite some time now, is still the back far corner. So if the course goes to the left, so you've got a buoy here, and everyone's going to go around that way. Those people that are fastest are going to want to be, sorry, my husband's over there laughing at me because we have this discussion. He wants to be in the front. He's like, no, you have to be in the front. So he always laughs when I'm like, no, go in the back. You're going to have a better race. So if you've got buoys going around this way, and your wave is right, the wave is getting ready to start. So you've got 50 of your closest lady friends right there. And some people want to be right in front, and they want to be as close as they can get to where they're going to have to turn going around the buoy. But everybody ends up right there. And so you have this smush of people. And if you're anxious at all, then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, like there's people like all over me, and I'm trying to swim, and it's not working well. So instead, go to the back of that pack and over to the outside, over to the right side in this case. So that way, when you're swimming, yes, it might take you a little longer. You might swim a little bit farther, but you're going to have a better race. You're not going to have that same anxiety because nobody else is out there with you. I shouldn't say there'll be some people, but it's not going to be like those that are fighting to get in there. Those people that are out there with you, they're just having a good time, and they bump into you. Usually it's like, oh, sorry, you know, which is nice. if you're in the front of the pack, they don't say sorry at all. You get like arms and legs and, and then, oh, it's all over. And then somebody goes and does breaststroke in the middle of, you're swimming along, you're doing just fine. And there's somebody in front of you, and then they do a breaststroke and the legs just go right in your face. So if you're over on this side and you're just going around, just mind your own business, you know what I mean? And just go around, you'll have a less anxious race. You have a better swim. My thought is that if you have a good swim, then the rest of the race is going to go pretty well, because you're not starting off like with that anxiety. You're going to be anxious anyway, just because it's a race, but you don't want to have a panic attack. If you do, and it happens sometimes, hang on to a lifeguard board. The boards are right there. They'll talk to you for a minute. And then when you're ready and your anxiety level has gone back down, your heart rate's gone back down, then go. So remember, it's your first race. It's a PR just by getting there. So your personal best is just getting in the door. So if you think of it that way, that might be able to help you. And I'll probably say something like that in the swim start. So some of the elite athletes are like, oh, listen to her. But yeah, if you want to have a good swim, then take it easy. No reason to rush that. All right. Hopefully that helps anybody else there too. All right, ladies, any other questions that you might have? All right. Are you all from the Cape or are you elsewhere? No? Okay. Oh, good. So you're coming to the Cape for the weekend? Good. Excellent. Well, the Cape is a wonderful place in September. So I hope that you enjoy Long Pond, and then you find somewhere to go eat afterwards, and then come back, because Wellfleet is a wonderful little town. And we have other races. We have 6 races on the Cape. This is the last sprint that we have. And usually it's in June. But there's some great races that happen on the Cape, I like to say. And there's also great races, off Cape. And are you all from Massachusetts? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a lot of great race directors on our side of on the east coast of Massachusetts, the Boston area. So you'll love this. There's always great tri groups too. I know a number of them. If you're like, I'd like to be a part of a tri group, but I want some opinion somewhere, I can tell you which ones that that I either know personally or have heard good things about. So, all right, ladies, I hope you have a great night.
Thanks.
And we will see you Saturday or Friday at Packet Pickup. Make sure to get down there in plenty of time. You give yourself at least an hour. Okay. All right.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.